Welcome to my next guest of the leading London episodes, powered by Vorboss from their amazing offices in central London. I have with me Rob Leigh-Bramwell, who's the co-founder of Bramwell Brown Clocks. I'm intrigued already, and director of Lee Holdings. Rob, it's a huge warm welcome to you for joining.
Thanks, Adam. Great to be here.
So how are you feeling? What do you think of the studio? Give Vorboss some feedback. This is brand new.
It's pretty mint. I feel like I'm between the ferns as such. But I'm delighted to be here. Yeah, no, it's a lovely spot.
Well, we're surrounded by technology, that's for sure. Co-founder of Bramwell Brown Clocks. Tell me, what is that about?
Yeah, well, I guess my sister and I, we co-founded the business together 10 years ago, and really it was just a product idea. No one had reinvented the barometer, if you remember what a barometer is.
Yes,
I'm a little thing that tells you the atmospheric pressure.
Yep.
No one had reinvented one for about 150 years, and we thought this is very strange because people are so obsessed with the weather still. And so it was really the product idea, and the business has grown from that. And 10 years later, we are sort of more in the direction of artwork and how our clocks sort of frame art and moving art in sort of novel mechanical movements.
Okay, well, let me go backwards to go forwards. How did you end up having the barometer at the heart of your conversation in the first place in relation to this hasn't been reinvented for a while?
There you go. I guess my dad had, the sort of the old clocks and the barometers on the walls, and they're sort of curious objects, and they're nice because they interact with the real world. You know, they're not connected to the internet, and they actually sort of move through natural rhythms, and they're lovely products, but they're just, the traditional one just still just very brown or copper or, and just not really befitting of the modern home. And about 100 years ago, so many households across the country would have had a barometer on the wall, and now none of them do. So, we
they've just got an iPad now.
They've got an iPad, they've got the weather forecast, yeah.
So exactly. What's the future of clocks? Because with this age of technology and the Internet of Things, do clocks still have a place?
Absolutely they do. I mean, I think when we started the business, we kind of thought we'll reinvent the barometer, and then we also had the idea of a tide clock as well. And
a tide clock?
A tide clock, so it tells you whether the tide is high or low in
the
same sort of mechanical, expressive way. And we thought that was a great idea, and then the clock sort of came part of that, the time-telling device. But we never really set out to understand, only after many years of selling the clocks did we realize how much of a privilege it is to sell a clock. Actually, a time-telling device can mean so much to people, and the reasons why people buy clocks from us, perhaps they're celebrating something or someone, and time-telling devices mean a lot to people.
Personal.
And they're very personal, and it's a real privilege to sell them.
So when we talk about the clocks that you're selling, we're not just talking about kind of regular clocks that perish the thought one might see in a department store. We're talking about quite special time pieces, aren't we? Just help us understand what you're talking about when you say a clock.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky. I mean, they're wall clocks, for one. But there's a little window in the clock face that has moving mechanical scenery that comes and goes, and this artwork that sort of swings about behind the clock face and then appears. So when the air pressure drops outside the little window, the little theatre set of mechanics will cloud up and become thunderous, and when the air pressure rises, the clouds part and the sun comes out. So that's how our weather clocks work.
There's a little bit of creativity, artistry. Where's that coming from?
Well, we're doing a lot more collaborations now. So we're working with artists to launch limited edition designs, and we're very much trying to frame artists or even brands now. We've just had a collaboration with Aardman on a Wallace and Gromit weather clock, with Wallace and Gromit going about their business in different weather scenes. So I think that's where our creative comes from, and really we have directions we like to take the artwork in, or what we think our customers will enjoy, but really collaborations is perhaps the future of what we're doing.
Okay, and when you say we, who are we talking about?
I'm talking my sister and I, and the rest of the team who sort of help us along.
And they're in London?
They're really all spread out, actually. We're UK based, but customer services and PR and marketing. Yeah, we're all sort of a remote team, really.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about Leigh Holdings then, because that's a family business, isn't it?
That is family business. Yeah, a long time. I mean, I think when I had the idea for our clocks,
yep. Was it your idea?
It was, yes, my idea and Sarah's idea. Sarah thought about the tie clock, so that was that's how we sort of came up with the two products of ours. I'm a chartered surveyor originally, and so that's my background, surveying. And so my dad and I, we were simply doing a small bit of house building for a few years, and I think that still sort of goes on in the background. It kept the wool from the door in the early days of clockmaking. So. Yes, I am still a paid-up member of the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, and I enjoy the industry, and I enjoy that line of work, but most of my time is directed to Bramwell Brown. That's
a significant change from perhaps what you qualified in.
Yes,
so and I'm also guilty of chopping and changing.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about that desire to step into something completely different. Something you spent a lot of time, effort, and resource on qualifying.
Yes, indeed. I think, it's. I think I looked at real estate and surveying is a interesting way to make a living, and a good way of making a living. You know, I think is a fairly steady industry, and you can make an impact on the world around you. But I just felt that I was more interested in a career that perhaps moved a bit faster. And
no pun intended.
No pun intended. And the family's always been quite entrepreneurial, so I just sort of, when I was at a career crossroads, I'd actually been made redundant, and my sister was also at a career crossroads, and we just sort of
serendipity kicks in.
Yes, there you go. We had a couple of ideas, and we decided to run with it.
So, did you have other ideas as well? I know you talkked about the clock, and then she talked about the tie.
Yes.
So were there other ideas in the mix before you landed on this?
Not chronological ones, no.
What other crazy ideas did you have? Come on, Rob, tell me.
Well, there's always other ideas in the pipeline, but this is the main gig, and we're very proud of it.
So, just how many clocks are you constructing, designing, and selling now, just so we can understand? Because I know a lot goes into each clock.
Yeah,
this is very personal, handmade.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what numbers?
So we've got a little workshop down near Portsmouth, and the team there would be making maybe 1,500 clocks a year.
Okay, that's a lot.
And
all handmade.
All handmade, with handmade parts. Our clock frames are spun in the UK and then anodized, and we're sourcing parts from all over, really. But the ones that really need very tight tolerances often coming from the UK, really, from the printing parts, and some of the small mechanisms and the electronics come from the UK as well. So. It's quite a localized supply chain, and in terms of we've got sort of our regular model as such, our weather clock, which is the design that we very first started with.
Yeah.
That is our best seller, and we make quite a few of those in the year. But then we're currently on the cadence of 4 launches a year for limited edition products, limited edition clocks, and they would be weather clocks or tie clocks in collaboration with an artist or perhaps a brand like Ardman. And we've just launched 1 clock already this year. There's another one coming this month. We'll do one in the autumn and then one before Christmas. So.
Wow. And so price range for a
clock
of this?
So
what are we
our
talking?
regular clock starts at 450 sterling, and limited editions tend to be about 550 sterling. But we do a giant model as well, which is sort of over 0.5 meter big, and They are more like £900, and then we do bespoke. If someone really wants us to make them something very special, then we can do that.
We need to get one in the offices of
There you
Vorboss,
go.
don't we?
Delighted,
We'll have to speak to the
course.
CEOs out there setting things up anyway with sleeves rolled up. Let me talk to you. You talked about the moving parts and the electronics. Have you got to use very specialist people for this? Because now I can imagine that you've really got to have quite a level of accuracy for the clock to be accurate, or the tide clock.
I think.
How specialist is it?
So the clock part of our clocks is perhaps the most simple. We use a German-made quartz, and that is really an off-the-shelf part. So that is the simplest part about it. The complex part, the patented part of our clock, is the actual mechanical gearing that moves the mechanical weather scenery, and that is. We're not talking watchmaking levels here. I think I can make the clocks myself, and I've had no particular training. But the part, you're right in saying the tolerances are fine, and we really do need clock parts that, it's very troubling if the suppliers, maybe make a mistake and something comes in the wrong shape or size, or a couple of millimeters here and there really can create problems. So, yes, it's the supply chain is perhaps the harder part than the construction of them per se.
Let me just ask you some questions. As a founder, you're passionate about this business. It's your baby. I talk to so many founders, and it is their child, along with maybe their other children as well. How do you know when to get involved, and how do you know when to get out of the way?
With the business itself, you mean, to sort of hand it on?
Because you know every element of this business. You started it was a seed of an idea, and now it's a thing, and it's a growing thing. But it's like all these things. You might be the founder and the boss. Yeah. But how do you get out of the way as well?
It's a very good point. I think Sarah and I have realised our limitations over the years, and we've started to sort of get help in some areas that have the unknown unknowns, and only when you start talking to people you realize you get some juicy ideas or direction that you would have never gone in otherwise. And I think that's been great, and as long as you're aware, as long as you have your ears up to your own limitations, then you're probably going to make that decision.
What's one of your limitations then that you're aware of that you take now? Not just for granted, but you're aware and you say, hang on, I need someone else to be able to do this for me. I have many of them, by the way, Rob. So
of course.
And people make me aware of them all the time. But what's kind of the one that's top of the list for you? That you think, hang on, that's not really my thing. That's not really my skill set.
Yeah, well,
I've turned it into confessional, haven't I?
Talking about a skill set. I mean, someone once described me as a typical managing director who would love to come up with ideas and then not execute a single one of them. Luckily, Sarah keeps me on the straight and narrow. This is my sister, and is much better at operations perhaps than I am.
Okay. So different skill sets, complementary.
Yeah, which has been very complementary.
Yes.
Not that we particularly set out knowing that. I think we found our spots over the time. And I think when you are so close to a product, perhaps taking a step back and really considering how customers perceive you is something I've needed help with. And when you're very proud of a product that you've founded and designed and launched, it's sometimes quite hard to see things that should be slapping you in the face.
So how do you make sure that you're alive to something you're not seeing or you're not hearing? There's no mischief to it. It's just you're so focused.
Yeah.
This is your baby. You know what you want. As you say, you're the bit of the visionary. You see what you want to achieve, and there's such dedication to it. How do you make sure you just stop and someone says, Rob, you haven't thought about, or you're not looking at how do you make sure you take that in? So you're kind of like, yeah, you're right. I didn't see it.
I think we do try and talk to our customers fairly systematically.
Yep.
We have outreach at least once a year. But sometimes, I mean, Henry Ford would maybe tell you the same thing. Sometimes customers don't quite tell you maybe the things that you need to hear to change a business's ways. They'll help you improve things somewhat.
Right.
But to really, I think you have to go outside the business. You have to talk to someone who maybe knows the business but isn't in it day to day. You just need outside perspective.
Do you have someone that you would consider a critical friend who knows you well and says, "Hey, Rob, you're doing that thing"?
Yeah, I do. I have several. And that's very helpful. And I think it's important to see these people sort of almost not too often spoil the good feedback loop.
Yeah, you think everything's going well, and they say, "Can I give you some feedback?" Brace for impact.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the aspiration of the business then? So here we are in 2025. We talk about leading in London, and obviously, you've got a national infrastructure too. What's the plan? What's the hope?
It's a lovely question. I think I've come from a family that has run businesses and considered business almost a generational concept. And again, when we started the business, we didn't really consider this. We were very naive about clockmaking. But clocks have a very long half-life, and people buy the product and then, of course, care about it for many, many, many years.
Well, they can be passed down, can't they? Timepieces are passed down.
Indeed. So Sarah and I, I certainly consider this a potential generational business, and that long-term thinking is fantastic. So at the moment, it's sort of growth to make us just a truly sustainable business in terms of sort of financially steady. But I think it would be great to start really mixing with artists who can put us on a map and have the clocks as a medium to their artwork that is really inspirational or world first.
That collaboration piece is really exciting, isn't it? Because it's almost taking the best of two worlds and syncing them together. A couple of final questions for you. So it's 2025. The world is a little chaotic. What's kind of the biggest challenge on your mind right now as a founder and business owner?
I think it's a perennial difficulty for us is just consistency of our supply chain. I've talked there about maybe us onshoring our supply chain and making it a little bit more reliable and more protected. But we can't do that completely. And I think we'll always have this concept, the tolerances of what we deal with in our supply chain is so low that we really do need a very reliable supply chain.
How was the pandemic for you in the business?
The pandemic was novel. Production was a little bit stretched, but then the demand boomed. We had
things for the home, right?
Yeah, we had a lot of people. Sitting at home and wanting nice furnishings, and I think we found the following years difficult because we were, as with many furniture brands or product brands, expecting things to carry on, and they just didn't.
Nothing really stays the same for very long, does it? I remember in the pandemic, I remember trying to get some garden furniture, and it was almost impossible at that time, wasn't it? Yeah. My final question to you is this: what's the best piece of leadership advice that you've given or received that's front of mind for you?
Front of mind for me is, what would your 80-year-old self say to you? And I really like posing that question to myself when facing quite difficult issues.
What would your 80-year-old self say to you?
Well, it depends on the problem. Sometimes.
What do you hope? What do you hope your 80-year-old self says to you?
Keep on going and keep up with the energy and dare to go for the bigger dreams, because they'll be the ones you're proud of when you're 80.
Yeah.
And you're talking to your grandchildren.
Listen, thank you so much for taking the time to come in, and I hope you've enjoyed it and being part of this special episode, actually, powered by Vorboss. And we're super excited to have spoken to so many leaders. And so thank you for taking the time, Rob.
Thank you, Adam. Thanks.
Thank you very much.